The U.S. civilian workforce includes 8 million unauthorized immigrants, accounting for 5% of those who are working or were unemployed looking for work. I'm here to persuade you to agree that illegal immigrants in the U.S. should be granted amnesty. As someone who has immigrants married into my family, I can attest to the frustration that they have had to face in order to be granted U.S. citizenship and how it has changed their lives for the better. Whether you're a parent, lawmaker, or concerned citizen, the common factor that unites us in our investment in the future of America, the choices we make about amnesty policies today can have a far-reaching effect on our country's social and economic status. After hearing what I have to say, I am confident you will agree that amnesty is right for America. With that in mind, I will be discussing the problem, then examine some of its causes, and conclude by offering a solution. With our roadmap in place, let's begin with the problem. Despite having support from past presidents and other government officials, many believe unauthorized immigrants should not be granted amnesty. For example, a survey conducted by Pew Research in May 2015 showed about 63% of Republican Americans and about 32% of Democrats said immigrants are a burden. The amount of Republicans who see immigrants as a burden increased 15 percentage points from 48% in May 2014. And this shows it. Republicans that are against amnesty and that are for it. Democrats against and for it, and then independent against and for it. So 63% of Republicans are against. So another example from Pew Research stated that in a proposal that was brought up during a recent Republican presidential campaign was whether to change the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment. This amendment states all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States wherein they reside. There was resistance among Hispanics at 73%. Young people, 73% were under 30, and Democrats at 66%. Republicans that wanted to leave the Constitution as it was at 49%, while 47% agreed with the constitutional amendment to bar birthright citizenship. With the problem in mind, let's examine some of its causes. There are at least two main reasons why many Americans believe amnesty shouldn't be granted. The first reason is belief that newly authorized immigrants would overwhelm the services such as welfare, food stamps, medical, and tax credits. However, immigrants make economic contributions that are quite sizable. When they are granted Social Security numbers, they are able to work and pay taxes, thus adding money to the economy. According to the Institute on Taxation and Economic Policy, undocumented immigrants contribute an estimated $11.74 billion a year to state and local taxes. They pay an estimated 8% of their incomes to state and local taxes. Granting unauthorized immigrant citizenship would allow them to work legally and would increase their state and local tax contribution by an estimated $2.18 billion a year. Also, many Americans believe that it would only encourage more illegal immigrants to come to America. During the Reagan administration in 1986, President Reagan granted amnesty to unauthorized immigrants that were in America before 1982. Part of this aversion is due to what is widely seen as a failure of Reagan's 1986 Immigration Reform and Control Act. However, one of the lead authors of the bill says that unlike most immigrant reform efforts of the past 20 years, amnesty wasn't the pitfall. Now that we've gained an understanding of the problem and some of the causes, let's turn our attention to the solution. The solution, which is to grant amnesty to legal immigrants, offers two important benefits. The first benefit is economic growth. The latest study conducted by George Barjas, a labor economist at Harvard Kennedy School, found that the national GDP increased by 11% per year. That's $1.6 trillion US dollars from labor working immigrants. When it comes to native-born Americans worried about illegal immigrants taking jobs, it's important to realize the positive effect that illegal immigration has on the American job market. According to the Hamilton Project study, based on the survey of the academic literature, economists do not tend to find that immigrants cause any sizable decrease in wages and employment of U.S.-born citizens, and instead may raise wages and lower prices. The work done by illegal immigrants would possibly take a deeper look at the importance of current jobs. The second benefit would be that families wouldn't be torn apart. The individuals who are trying to better provide for their families wouldn't be able to if they weren't granted amnesty or deported. With having the immigrants deported, there would be an economic consequence by removing millions of laborers. And a study conducted by Pew Research in 2013 found that 150,000 children were separated from one or both parents as a result from immigration policies. In the same report, it was found that those children that lost a parent suffered from poverty, lack of food and health care, and limited education. And another study that was conducted in 2011 by Pew Research estimated that at least 5,100 children were living in foster care whose parents had been either detained or deported, with 15,000 more in similar circumstances in the next 5 years. In conclusion, not granting amnesty to unauthorized immigrants in the U.S. is not only hurting them, but would also cost Americans billions of dollars to deport all the unauthorized immigrants. Let's review what we've learned today. First, we learned that despite having support from past presidents and other government officials, many believe unauthorized immigrants should not be granted amnesty. The example we used was a survey conducted by Pew Research in May 2015 that showed about 63% of Republican Americans and about 32% of Democrats said immigrants are a burden. The amount of Republicans who see immigrants as a burden increased 15% points from 48% in May 2014. Many Americans felt immigration is taking wealth, benefits, and jobs away from American citizens. One of the lead bill writers during the Reagan administration stated that granting amnesty to unauthorized immigrants wasn't the pitfall. The law granted amnesty to nearly 3 million illegal immigrants, yet was largely considered unsuccessful because the strict sanctions on employers were stripped out of the bill for passage. Next, we learned that there are two reasons why many Americans believe amnesty shouldn't be granted. The first was the belief that newly unauthorized immigrants would overwhelm the services such as welfare, food stamps, medical, and tax credits. The second reason was many Americans feel that it would encourage more unauthorized immigrants to migrate to America. Finally, the solution, which is to grant amnesty to legal immigrants, offers two important benefits. The first benefit was economic growth, and the second benefit was that families wouldn't be torn apart. The truth is, granting amnesty to unauthorized citizens will benefit the American economy by more taxes being paid by both locally and statewide. There would be less babies born to unauthorized immigrants ending up in the legal system. It would devastate my family if my brother-in-law was not granted citizenship and had to deport back to Mexico. His wife would be left without a husband and his kids without a father.